prophesied Psalms 27:4 to you. Can you tell us about that? So it's kind of a set of stage.
Yeah, well, some folks don't know about Bob Jones. He's went to be with the Lord a few years ago in his 80s, in his mid-80s. But for many years had a very, very strong prophetic ministry and touched many leaders around the body of Christ. Quite remarkable. But it was 35 years ago. He walks into my office in Kansas City, 1983, almost 35 years ago. I've got this young adult church. I'm in my 20s. He's, about, in 50s, 60s, something like that. To me, he was old, real old. I'm 62. Yeah. He's younger than I am now. But he walked in. We have this vibrant young adult church. We got lawyers and doctors. We had 10 football players from the Kansas City Chiefs. We had these kind of successful professionals that were doing great and doing awesome. And Bob grew up in the hills of Arkansas and skipped a few steps of education. And his language made that kind of clear that he skipped a few steps. But he walked in my office, kind of the one old guy, because all of our people were in their 20s. And I thought, sir, I said, my name's Mike Bickle. I put my hand out. And he did not shake my hand. He looked up around like that. And I said, my name's Mike Bickle. And he goes, yep, this is what the Lord was telling me. And I go, excuse me? And he looked at me and he said, I'll just give you the snapshot. It's a quite long story, like everybody's got a long story. But he said, I'm going to tell you where you're going in the future and what the Lord's going to put in front of you. And I wasn't really up for that. He didn't look like the type that would give me an intelligent, clear answer about my future. And he said, you're going to have 24-hour prayer with singers and musicians.
Wow.
Well, I went, ugh. Wow. I didn't go, wow, just so you know. I went, what?
Yeah.
And he said, you're going to have that. He goes, number one. Number two, he said, the Lord's going to move you from the wealthy part of Kansas City where we had all these, a lot of top young leaders, a lot of successful economically. He goes, he's going to move you from here to the other side of town to this blue-collar community because Harry S. Truman lived there. And I thought, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
He said, because Harry S. Truman was an intercessor for the nation of Israel. I go, well, that means nothing to me.
Wow.
He goes, and when you have singers and musicians in the years to come, you're going to be spiritual intercessors for the nation of Israel, like Harry S. Truman was a political intercessor. I forgot. He said political. And I said, what are you talking about? He goes, Harry S. Truman was there in Kansas City. And I said, well, I kind of knew that. I had to stop and think about it. He goes, he was the man in a singular way that God used to cause Israel to become a nation in 1948. After 2,000 years of being out of the land, God used him in a singular way. He used others, but Harry S. Truman, and he was a political intercessor for Israel. So God's going to put you next to his land. Bob says, I said on his land, and I said, okay. And it's going to be a sign and a wonder. And I thought, well, our people don't really shop over in that blue-collar part of town. And he said, I promise you they're going to. And he said, and the next thing, he goes, you got to understand, he saw smartphones. This is 35 years ago, nearly.
Wow.
He saw smartphones. He said, he goes, all over Asia, they're going to have unplugged TV sets in their hands watching the singers and musicians in Grandview, Missouri on Harry S. Truman's property.
Wow.
And I said, and I'm picturing 35 years ago, unplugged TV set, a peasant. He goes all over the rice paddies of Asia. I'm picturing this, 20-inch TV set with a cord dragging out in the rice paddies. I go, this man is out of his mind. I just looked at him. He said, not only that, he says, when this happens, he goes, they're going to create an abortion pill. And this is 35 years ago. He goes, they're going to take a pill and have an abortion. And I said, sir, I'm getting annoyed at him by this time. I go, do you know what an abortion is? He goes, of course I do. And he goes, I said, you can't have an abortion with a pill. He goes, it's coming. When you're singing on Harry S. Truman's property and they're watching you all over Asia on unplugged TV sets, you will see it. And he goes, and the other thing, he gave me a handful. I will tell you one more. He said the homosexuals are coming out of the closets. He told me this 35 years ago. They will be parading in the streets with the support of governments. And I said, none of this made sense. I mean,
Wow. That's powerful.
I went from being annoyed to perplexed to entertained. I was just kind of laughing at him inside. 25 years later, 2008, a Jewish couple walked into the IHOP facility, a Jewish couple, and said, hey, we've got this 125 acres right on the highway, on an interstate. And today it's worth maybe $30, $40 million. I don't really know, but it's right on an interstate, 125 acres in an area that's growing and economically and all these things. He goes, we're going to offer to you for $1 million. And it's worth a lot more. And they said, just Jewish family, he goes, we're not religious. Our parents died and we want to honor them. And we looked around your ministry and you got all these young families. We don't care about your religion. We just want young couples. And he said, our family bought it, my parents, from Harry S. Truman. It was his property.
Of course.
And so, I'll get right to the bottom here.
Wow.
So I'm sitting in the room, and they said, for $1 million. And I said, we don't have $1 million. The man visiting me from out of town says, Mike, I'm an investor. You're not going to believe this. This never happens. I have $1 million liquid cash in my bank for 3 years. Because I always go from investment to investment. I never have it liquid. He goes, I'll give it to you tomorrow. So I said, really? So we bought the property. Now here's the catch. Here's the punchline. Is that the closing date was January 27th, 2008. And when Harry S. Truman sold it to the Jewish family, January 27th, 1958, 50 years to the day. 50 years to the day, Truman sold it to the family, the Jewish family. They sold it to us. And
50.
the man, to the day, and the man that gave us the $1 million from out of town, he said,
he gave it to you.
He said, I'll give it to you as a gift.
God is raising up his apostolic chiefs. Oh, my. Can y'all just say revival, 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 revival? Come on, pray revival, revival, revival. Thank you, Lord. I'm going to pass the ball here.
I've never been this excited before about a football game at all. If the Chiefs win, as Bob Jones said, revival. Sign here. Stay tuned. I am believing for the Chiefs to win this. These skies are blazing red. I really do believe that revival, the fire of God is upon us. The fire of God is upon us. It's God's move. We've been praying for the Chiefs.